What's up everyone, it's Karthik with Omniverse. Welcome on board for our live stream for Nvidia earnings. So hopefully you guys can see me and hear me. And I'm just going to be doing a quick Discord message to let everybody know that we are now live. And Nvidia earnings are coming out in under an hour. So 4:20 p.m. Eastern is when Nvidia is going to be reporting their numbers. I'm going to be sending this link to our Discord members to join us live for Nvidia earnings very quickly, and then I'll start my screen share in just a minute. I did some updates before the earnings here, so it's taking a little bit longer, but again, hope you all are doing great and are ready for this big day. Just gonna send this in our Discord. Everybody, I live to cover Nvidia earnings. Let's do this. Okay, we are live. We are ready to go. If you guys can see me and hear me, just give me a thumbs up. I just want to make sure that everything is working well and there are no issues. So $28.7 billion is the revenue number for Nvidia, with an earnings per share expected at 65 cents per share. Both of these numbers are expected to increase triple digit. We're expecting almost 113% increase year over year on revenue and over 138% year over year increase in earnings per share. Let's do a quick poll on our chat. Nvidia today, rocket higher, and then let's just do sells off after earnings. So you got a poll going on now, and we are ready. Nvidia on the day down about 1.6%. However, recovering really well. So we are seeing that recovery. We went live over here at around 11:15 a.m. Eastern. We were live for about an hour, and then we sold off a little bit further, and then we have recovered a little bit of those losses, down about 1.6%. But again, the earnings are coming out in about an hour, so 4:20 p.m. is when the numbers are going to be released. So you'll notice that Nvidia's highly anticipated earnings are nearly here. The company is in the S&P 500 top performing stock this year, and the report is expected to be released approximately 1:20 p.m. Pacific time, 4:20 p.m. Eastern. And Nvidia will host a conference call at 2 p.m. Pacific or 5 p.m. Eastern, so about 40 minutes later, which also I have opened over here. So Nvidia's second quarter fiscal year 25 financial results, to which we will listen to together for about an hour and see what Nvidia ends up reporting, and of course talking a little bit more about artificial intelligence, the delays related to Blackwell, so on and so forth. We got the financial results open over here. We'll reload this page at 4:20 p.m. to take a look at the numbers for the company as well, and of course we'll take a look at the market's reaction after the close. So again, hope you all are doing great. Put your predictions into our poll. Share this live stream with everyone, with other people who can join, and again, take a look at the market's reaction with us. And yeah, we are ready. So we'll take a look at these numbers here in just under an hour. I think up markets lost last couple of days to Nvidia, to cover Nvidia pop, in my opinion. Up or down is the question. Still 75% positive. So 75% is still the probability. But again, I want to be very clear that that's been historically based on the last 8 quarters. But just because it's happened in the last 8 quarters does not mean that it's going to happen once again, right? So just give me one more second while I update the thumbnail. I just want to put Jensen Huang in there. Definitely he deserves to be in our thumbnail. So just give me 1 second while I also put his picture on the thumbnail and update the image there. So 1 second here, and there we go. Just gonna remove that, and I'm going to flip his position, and perfect. There we go. Got our Jensen Huang in the mix. I'm gonna update that over there, and we are all set. So boom, 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 just downloading that, and we're just gonna update this very quickly. Oh, there we go. Just edit, change, and we're all set. Just 1 second. Perfect. We are good to go. Nvidia earnings. All right, everyone. So drop a like for Jensen Huang. Not me, not yourself, but drop a like for our Jensen Huang here. So this is the new thumbnail that I've added over here. You can see we got Jensen Huang in there. So drop a like for him. He would really appreciate that. So we're just about getting ready for the market close. We did see a little bit of a pullback. I mean, QQQs are still down a little bit over 1%. So 470, 195 is where we are, with the S&P 500 also down about 0.5%, with Tesla down over 1.8, and Nvidia, of course, still down over 1.7, with AMD down over 2.5%. So the entire Magnificent 7 stocks are down almost 1% on the day, with semiconductors also down a little bit over 1% at the moment. So this definitely has been a little bit of a red day for the entire market, with semiconductors selling off, more aggressively. However, SMCI did get bought up. It was down at one point over 26%. So there has been buyers stepping in for this company. That's why I think selling puts was a very, very lucrative in and around those levels at 396. At 330 puts were paying you, I think, closer to like $17, $18 last time I checked. And we did have, of course, puts all the way out to few weeks to a month out, and they were even higher at $20, $25 per contract. So those are very, very high in terms of those put premiums. Let's go rocket higher, up. Good luck to everyone. Let's see, I've loaded on into Nvidia and have dry powder to pick up more shares if it tanks tomorrow. Basically tomorrow, you mean like later today. How do you feel about those puts you have on Nvidia? Still, will there be buying to close with 100% profit? I hope so. So again, yes, we will see. Are you a nephew of Jensen Huang? No, not a wish, but no. So yes, 100% profit. I mean, that just simply means that those puts are going to expire out of the money and worthless. But so for that to happen, I'll have to hold them all the way till expiration, till Friday. And the only reason I'll do that is if I'm, let's say, in the money, or if I am, kind of the market price is a little bit more close to the strike price. So we're still kind of uncertain whether those puts are going to close in the money or out of the money up until Friday's close. Those are the only two instances where I would essentially hold until Friday. Other than that, if by Friday those puts are up anywhere from 80 to 90 to 95%, I'll end up buying to close, and then I'll sell more puts on another stock for the following week, for next week basically. And we'll send out all those updates and alerts in our Discord, and we'll do a Patreon video as well. So we're ready. 15 more minutes. And for everybody joining us, these are the expectations from Analyst: $28.7 billion and a 65 cents in earnings per share for Nvidia. And do me a favor, also have other people join this live stream. So share this. You can simply come over here. So on our live stream, there's this option for sharing it. So what I'll do is I'll post it over here, so you can share this link. Simply copy and paste this link, so you can have other people join us, other Discords, WhatsApp groups, Telegram channels, Facebook, wherever it is. You can have more people join us so that we can have a more lively and more engaging discussion about Nvidia's earnings, and also listen to what Jensen Huang has to say about the future of the company with artificial intelligence. So got everything opened up. So we got the corporate filings, financial reports here for Nvidia. We're going to be taking a look at the second quarter as soon as the numbers come out. So we'll reload this page at 4:20 p.m. Eastern. Got the second quarter earnings press release registered already. So we will listen in to that, and then also again, some of the other articles that are super important. So for example, up 140%, 65 cents versus 27 cents year over year. And then revenue 28.7 billion, and current quarter outlook of 31.7 billion. That's the expectation, with 71 cents per share in earnings for the company as well. And then again, the Nvidia's Blackwell GPU crushes its current generation. There's some delays with regards to Nvidia's Blackwell chips as well. So we will be listening in to that as well. So Nvidia, the primary beneficiary of the ongoing artificial intelligence boom, its market value has expanded more than 9 times since the end of 2022. 9 times. Investors will be looking for indications that AI demand remains strong, while analysts expect Nvidia to post a 4th straight quarter of triple-digit revenue growth. And that is actually correct, because if you come over to our platform, let me just go over and open it up for all of you. Again, this is accessible to everyone. If you want to join, of course, be a part of our Moneyvest community, you can do that. Let's see, moneyvest.com. Simply come over to dashboard. You can log in and you will have access to our entire platform. So this right here is, again, our own moneyvest.com. Come over to Nvidia and let's take a look at the fundamentals for the last few quarters here. So we're going to come over to switch this from annual to quarterly. Let's go over to the last 12 quarters revenue, plot for gross profit, And then we'll also take a look at net income, profitability, or bottom line, which has also exploded for the company. And take a look at this. I mean, just incredible, right? So net income, 6.1 billion in the July quarter. And then same time last year, they were at 656 million. So that is an increase of 1,000%. Absolutely insane. Then the October quarter, 9.2 billion. Same time last year, they were at 680 million. So that's another 1,200% quarter. This right here was, we're looking at January quarter, and January of last year was about 1.4 billion, which they increased to 12.2 billion. So that's well over 900% increase. And this right here is going to be April quarter, which compared to last April when they did 2 billion, that increased to over 14.8 billion. So that's 700% increase for the company. So we've seen 1,200%, 1,000%, 900%, 700%, and now it's going to be comping over this quarter right here, which of course it's going to be now even more difficult to accomplish, right? So those are the numbers. So the thing is that same time, like next year when we're doing our analysis for Nvidia, it's actually going to be more difficult unless this demand is so crazy, it's so wild that they're still able to grow triple digit, but it's going to start coming down. Why? Because next year they're going to be comping over all of these high figures. You see these high numbers here? They're going to be comping over such high numbers that same time next year, they're going to be comping over, the number that we're getting today, which is a little bit over, 65 cents per share, right? So depending on we got the market cap and you got the net income, revenues $28.7 billion. That's what they're going to be comping over next year. And when I say comping over, meaning comparables year over year, that's what they're going to be comparing against. And then 112% growth means that they're going to have to increase revenues to $61 billion in one quarter next year. Can they do that? I mean, sure, anything is possible, but how probable is that? So, of course, the growth has exploded, as you can see on the charts here, but growth rates are gonna start to come down for Nvidia as time goes on because the numbers are starting to get really, really big for this company. So that's where we are. 64% of you guys are expecting Nvidia to be higher after earnings today. So yeah, there's definitely a very, very bullish sentiment overall among investors. And I'm just going to go over some of the comments here. It's all about the guidance, not earnings, which will be great. Yes, so guidance, very important. So we already covered that the current quarter guidance for sales, 31.7 billion. So if you take a look at the current quarter, which is the quarter ending in October, last year they did $18.1 billion. So if you do the math, 18.1 and the current quarter expectations are 31.7, right? So what is that year over year? If you do this minus this divided by that, we're looking at a growth rate of, once again, a little bit over 175. Is that right? Just want to make sure. Yep, so this minus this. 75%. I was going to say, that doesn't seem right. 75% is going to be that year-over-year growth expected for Nvidia. That's what analysts are expecting, right? So we're going to actually put this number somewhere over here as well. So what we'll do is we will create something similar. And we will do that. And we're going to put 18.1 billion. This is current quarter revenue. No, last year's revenue, right? So we're just going to put revenue here. So this is already reported, and this is guidance. And Wall Street is expecting 31.7. So that is 75% expected from the company. And then earnings per share, 71 cents per share. So that's what Wall Street is pricing in for. And last year, we essentially got earnings per share. Let me see. Let me just plug that in. Diluted earnings per share. It's going to be right there. We had for the October, let me just remove all of that. We had 73 cents per share for the company also. So that's going to be that number. Just got to make sure. Yeah, that might be a little bit of an adjustment on GAAP versus non-GAAP, but 71 cents per share is what Wall Street is expecting from Nvidia. Let me just come over here and take a quick look. Quarterly basis. Let's come over to statements. Income statement, bottom line, got diluted earnings per share. Yeah, so this is the quarter ending over here, which was around 3 cents per share for the company. 3 to 6 cents because of the split adjustment as well. So we'll leave it blank. We'll see what the earnings per share guidance ends up being. 75 cents per share is what Wall Street is pricing in for. So that's where we are. Guidance is very, very important. Fully agree, and that's really what's going to dictate where the price goes after the numbers come out. Okay, if something happens, I will buy everything. Someone has to. Yep. So I don't know what that is. So is today's market sell-off led by anticipation of Nvidia earnings? Well, it's possible. Like I said in my earlier live stream, that Nvidia earnings tend to be a little bit more of a binary event because of the volatility that the earnings basically carry over to the market. So a lot of investors may not want to hold through Nvidia earnings, and they might just want to get out. Mostly traders, they may want to exit some positions in order to prepare for what happens after. So plus minus 10% volatility incoming now. So we got 8 more minutes. 8 more minutes, everyone. I hope you all are ready. David says, how do you have so much energy this late? The coffee must be good in Tbilisi. Man, I'm actually exhausted. So this is not energy out of energy. This is energy out of sleep deprivation, because I didn't actually get a lot of sleep last night. I slept at 3 in the morning. I was working late, and then I woke up at like 8. So that's like 5 hours. Then of course, immediately went to get some coffee, spend the entire day mostly working. And then tomorrow I'm leaving a little bit early. So I'm leaving at like 8 a.m. to Kazbeki, the mountain peak that I mentioned earlier. It's literally like bordering Russia. So it's a 3-hour ride. So I plan to sleep in the car as I'm traveling over up north. So yes, my plan is to cover the report, cover the press conference, do the update, then of course go to bed and then wake up in 4 or 5 hours and then make my trip over to over to that place. But no, it is okay. It is fine because I enjoy what I do. I absolutely love what I do, and obviously you guys are important. Nvidia is important, and my trade is important. So yes, I am pumped for my trade as well. We'll see what ends up happening. So yeah, that's where we are. Make sure that you drop a like, everyone. 531 people joined in. That is incredible. Let's see if we can get up to at least over 700. Because 700 is going to be pretty cool. 7 being one of my lucky numbers. Let's see if we can get up to that level. But yes, we've got about 6 minutes. 6 minutes for the markets to close. All eyes and ears are going to be on Nvidia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Nvidia on this chart. So you can see the 5-minute chart here for Nvidia stock. Remember, the all-time high sits well over $140. This has been the recovery. So you see that shaded part in blue is pre-market. In slightly brown, it's actually, this is after hours. This is pre-market. This is actual trading hours. The market's open. And then as soon as the market's closed, it's going to turn into this bluish shade again, which is going to be the after hours once again. And then we'll put QQQs over here to better understand how the NASDAQ is reacting to Nvidia earnings. Again, they don't come out until 4:20 p.m. So there may be some volatility after the markets close, but it's not really going to represent anything because again, there might be some algos trading Nvidia. Can I do a 24-hour stream? 24-hour stream would be crazy, man. You guys will see me eat, drink, a lot of other stuff. So I don't know if I should do that. Okay, let's see. Let's go. Do you get jet lag? So, well, Tbilisi, Georgia is in the same time zone as Dubai. So we are really, it's not me traveling in time right now. Not at least if I'm traveling up north. I'm not going east or west. So there's a slight weather difference, but there's no time difference if I'm traveling up north. If I do ever go to India, of course, there's a small time difference. India is about an hour and a half ahead. And of course, if I travel west, then it's completely different, of course. But right now I'm up north, so it's the same time zone. I've been to Tbilisi. You should go find Geo-Coaching Treasure in the Mother of Georgia. I couldn't find it. It's good to know. I'll try that. Check that out. So my positions are basically sold puts. That's what I've done. I've sold puts on Nvidia. Strikes are 108 and 105. If Nvidia drops down to $108, then those puts will be in the money, and I'll get assigned shares on Friday at expiration. At $108, then I can immediately go out and sell calls against those shares. But if Nvidia rips, then those calls are going to be further out of the money, thereby essentially generating that profit. And of course, I'll be able to keep that entire premium. 3 minutes. 3 minutes left, everyone. Hope you all are ready. It's going to be quite interesting. Again, for those of you who are joining us, we got over 613 people watching. Revenue last year, 13.5 billion. This year, expected revenue from these earnings, 28.7 billion. That's 112% growth year over year. Earnings per share, same time last year, 27 cents per share for the company. Just double checking here for the quarter ending in, so over here, 27 cents, right about that number. 65 cents per share expected, right, from this quarterly earnings, 138% year over year growth. So these are the numbers that are expected from Nvidia after the bell. These are the yellow ones. Come over to guidance, $31.7 billion in revenue. Let me just put that over here. We'll increase that like that. And this is revenue. So 31.7 billion. That's going to be a year over year growth of 75% and earnings per share expectations of 71 cents per share for the company. So those are the expected numbers. We got 2 more minutes for the markets to close. Nvidia trading at just over $126 right now, down about 1.6%. As soon as the numbers come out at 4:20 p.m. Eastern, we'll reload this page. We'll take a look at the numbers, read through the report, data center revenue, gaming, automotive, everything, and of course the GAAP and non-GAAP numbers, the balance sheet, all that good stuff. And then we'll listen in to the call at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific when this thing comes in. So we'll listen to what Jensen Huang has to say. So everything is ready, and hopefully we have no other problems, and we are ready to go. Excited. I am very excited about Nvidia earnings here. So in how many minutes is the report? So 4:20 p.m. Eastern. So in about 21 minutes, roughly. Because right now it's 3:59. So markets close in about a minute here. We're trading at 126. So 4:20 p.m. is when the reports will be released. Nvidia already starting to roll over just a little bit on the last 5-minute candle. Starting to pull back. If you come over to the 1-minute candle, seeing a little bit of a pullback. I think 1-minute candles are fine right now after the market's close because there may be some algos that are firing off. But again, the report doesn't come out until 4:20. So we'll continue to reload that page for Nvidia. All eyes on Nvidia here. Oops, starting to sell off in the final minute, down almost 2%. Back to the 5-minute candles here. So there's a little bit of a pullback, down about 2%. And market's going to close in 3, 2, 1, and that's 4 p.m. bell going off. We are now closed. So you can see the shaded blue comes in. That's the after hours. And right now, after hours, down about 0.5% at the moment. Again, we'll take a look at the reports at 4:20. Just for the sake of doing this, we'll just reload this page. Yep, so as soon as this comes out, we will take a look. Nvidia is mostly flat right now, so there's not going to be a lot of movement at the moment, at least for the not for the next 20 minutes or so. How many people do we have watching in right now? So we got over 700, almost 800 people watching. That's incredible. Good luck to everyone. I really want to know how many people actually have Nvidia at the moment. So we got 66%. We're going to end this poll, 400 votes, but I really want to know how many people that are watching, 837, have Nvidia stock or options, or in some shape or form, they have a vested interest in what's about to happen in 20 minutes. So let us do a quick poll. And we'll just do a yes/no poll. Nvidia, are you holding any Nvidia stock, options, or any trades? Let's do that. There we go. We got 888 number of people that are watching right now. And again, Nvidia is very flat. So the numbers are going to come out in about 19 minutes now. We are literally flat, 2 basis points, slightly up. But this poll is actually going to be quite interesting because it's going to give us a little bit of a sense of Wow, 78% of you guys. I'm also in the yes camp, by the way, as you already know, but wow. Fragrance says my biggest position. So vested. Nvidia, largest position, 266 shares. Michelle says, wow, that's incredible. That is insane. You guys are about to get one of the biggest reports, if not the biggest report. Not just for the market, but for a lot of people's portfolios as well. So yeah, very flat right now. No movement at the moment. Still waiting. SOXL. By the way, let's see if there's any other companies that are also reporting at the same time. So if you come over to earnings calendar, CRM, so Salesforce, CrowdStrike, these are also companies reporting. So we can also kind of go into, you know, their stocks and how they're doing. CrowdStrike is also flat. Again, a lot of these companies will end up reporting towards in the next few minutes here. So I'm still going to put Nvidia at the very top, on the top right. We've got Nvidia over here. And then I'll put CRM at the bottom right. Looks like there's a big pop, 3.4% higher right now, 268. And then we'll put CrowdStrike over here on the bottom left. And let's see if there's any other companies that we can also plug in. HP, Viva Systems, Okta. So let's just put Viva Systems, or let's just put the market. I think QQQ is going to be fine over there. So basically flat after hours. The only big after hours move that we're seeing so far is Salesforce, up a little bit over 2%. Other than that, CrowdStrike and Nvidia very calm at the moment, very flat as of right now. So everyone, we got over 1,000 people watching now. So again, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate that. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would really appreciate that. Helps out the channel in a tremendous way. And let us know what your expectations are for earnings that are coming out for Nvidia in 17 minutes now. This is what the market's pricing in: $28.7 billion of revenue with 65 cents in earnings per share. Guidance at $31.7 billion with 71 cents in earnings per share. Growth triple digit, 112%, 138% respectively. And then we're also looking at revenue guidance of 75% increase year over year for the company as well. So very, very flat numbers at the moment. Twitter is literally trending with only Nvidia. How many tweets do we have on Nvidia? 39,000 tweets on Nvidia at the moment with the ticker symbol NVDA. That's all anybody's talking about right now. This is actually crazy how one stock can get so popular. So popular. It's insane because it's actually gone up so fast. 75% of folks here actually have some type of position, stock or options or other trades on Nvidia. 75%, 750 people right now that are watching this stream have some type of vested interest. Oop, CrowdStrike just made a big move, down about 4.7%. So definitely with a big red candle coming in. You can see over here, selling off quite aggressively here. CrowdStrike holding sees fiscal year adjusted EPS 361. That's been downgraded from adjusted EPS 361 to 365 is what they're expecting now. Sees third quarter revenue of $979 to $984 million. CRM expecting its Q3 EPS range between 242 to 244, and expecting fiscal year 2025 EPS range of $10.03 to $10.11. So, you know, at 264 and $10, we're trading at just over 26 times earnings, which is actually not bad multiple for Salesforce. Oop, a little bit of reversal on CrowdStrike here, up 3.4% now, almost 4% higher. Quite a nice staggering reversal. 250 to back up to over, wow, that's a 9% swing in just a matter of a couple minutes here for CrowdStrike, 4% higher now. Nvidia is still very, very calm, very calm. QQQs are slightly lower at the moment. And again, we'll come over here, reload this page, another 14 minutes left for these numbers to come out. Yep. CrowdStrike's higher. Salesforce is higher. "13 minutes until Nvidia." Profit margins have just gotten insane, right? for Nvidia, as we discussed in our previous live stream. Staggering margins. I mean, we've gone from like 40 to 55, 50 to 55 to now 58% margins. So 73% now of people that are now in some shape or form trading or investing in Nvidia through options or shares. That's still a pretty big number. 3/4 of investors here. So CrowdStrike cuts annual revenue forecast, and yet the stock price is still higher, guiding for about 80 to 81 cents per share in earnings per share. And then we also have the full entire year earnings expectations for 2025 at 361 to 365. So if you do the math here, CrowdStrike after hours is trading at around 272 divided by 365. We're looking at an earnings multiple of 74. That is still a really high multiple for CrowdStrike, but at the same time, they're also increasing that number of earnings per share. So for example, last year, they did diluted earnings per share, EPS of 17 cents. So growing from 17 cents to well over $2.65 is a pretty massive increase. Just want to make sure that was actually quarterly. So coming over to annual number, still 37 cents, right? 37 cents, and increasing that 37 cents to $2.62 is just an insane amount of growth. And that's the whole idea of companies turning the corner towards profitability. Palantir did that. SoFi is on the process of doing that. CrowdStrike, Zscaler, a lot of companies that turn the corner on profitability have significant potential for growth. Coming over to the 1 minute chart, you can see incredible volatility here on CrowdStrike, and Salesforce giving up on all those gains after reporting those numbers. Guidance now expected 242, 244, and $10.03 to $10.11. Street expectations were 236. That's actually a strong beat of 256 versus 236 for Salesforce. Yet it is slightly coming down. So it's basically flat at the moment right now. Blackwell delay is now going to affect these earnings, and it is said that Nvidia will just sell more H100, H200 in the place of Blackwell this year, beginning next year. If Nvidia misses or gives poor guidance, the whole market will suffer. I agree. I think the market's already is underperforming. Technology is definitely underperforming right now relative to value. As we discussed in one of our other videos, like if you take a look at XLK relative to XLU, this has been the biggest underperformance since going back as far as 2008. So it definitely has a very big role to play because Nvidia, the entire technology sector, kind of dependent on Nvidia. You know, I was looking at one of those memes where there's a lot of people sitting in the back of a truck, and you know how there's this back door that opens up, and you've got Nvidia pretty much, holding on to that door because everybody's reliant on that door being closed. And there was another meme where the plates are falling off the kitchen closet. And that's pretty much Nvidia kind of holding up the entire market. As soon as that door opens, we got chaos and mess. So Nvidia starting to roll over just a little bit, 37 cents lower. If you come over to this, again, we'll take a look for 2025, second quarter, nothing yet. And again, the earnings press conference starts at 5 p.m. Eastern. So we still have a little bit of time left. Nvidia starting to roll over just a little bit, 68 basis points lower right now. Yeah, some people are tweeting like, if everybody's focused on Nvidia, people are missing out on what CrowdStrike and Salesforce are doing. But we have them covered as well. Beat on both of those companies. Jesus, these motorcycles here in Tbilisi, man. I tell ya, there's actually no limit to how late they can actually go. Like I've heard them at 2 a.m, at 4 a.m, it doesn't matter. Okay, I feel like Twitter just went down for Nvidia ticker symbol because now those posts are not even loading up. It's not loading up, you guys. We had over 130,000 posts on Nvidia. Yep, Twitter is not working. Twitter's not working. Is it working for anybody else? Let me see here if I can open it up. And we'll just type in Nvidia. Under trending, it should already be trending. We'll just do that. Okay, it's working on the computer. Wasn't working on my phone. Anyway, so we got about 8 more minutes until the report comes out. 30 basis points lower is where Nvidia is. Salesforce trying to recover just a little bit, up over 2.3% right now on the day after hours. CrowdStrike is also up 2%. So both of these companies, nice 2% gain after hours. QQQ is slightly down about 14 basis points, with Nvidia very, very flat still. 30 basis points lower, selling off just slightly after the markets have closed. 2% lower on the day, and right now just down about 34 basis points at the moment. So here we are. Here we go. We are ready. So we'll keep a close eye. We'll keep a close eye on what Twitter's also telling us as well. Yeah, so many people in Wall Street bets have placed their livelihoods on Nvidia calls. I have no doubt. I have no doubt at all. There's a lot of people that are betting on Nvidia, simply just buying calls on the expectations that it's actually going to go higher. Six minutes. We are 6 minutes away. 6 minutes away. Almost time now. Yep, so almost time. So exciting. Working here. Okay, perfect. It is working. So yeah, it was working on the computer. It's not working on my phone for some reason. 1,600 people watching, everyone. I think that might just be the record for the channel. So definitely do drop a like and subscribe to the channel here if you haven't already. I would really greatly appreciate that. Helps us grow our community engagement. Everything helps us recommend this channel to more people. Salesforce definitely on the move here to 3.7% higher, almost 4% higher now. And CrowdStrike is up almost 3%. Both of those ended up beating expectations. But we did get a little bit of a guidance cut on CrowdStrike from just coming down $979 to $984 million for the third quarter. But it's almost time for Nvidia to shine. It's almost time. 5 more minutes left. Wow, 1,800 people. Folks, this is a brand new all-time high on a live stream for our channel. So we've got over 1,800 people watching Nvidia earnings. So this is going to actually be quite interesting, quite crazy. Let us know what your predictions are, and also do participate in the poll. We've got 69%. How appropriate that is. 69% of people have vested interest in Nvidia earnings right now. Craig says, I'm holding $80,000 in Nvidia, but honestly think we're going to take a hit today. Wouldn't be surprised, my friend. Would not be surprised. Given the overall sentiment around technology, the higher expectations, the Blackwell delays, there's just a lot on the ride here. There's just a lot on deck for Nvidia to really come out and beat expectations. There's a lot that they have to do. Oh, a little bit of a move. Again, it's 416 right now. We're going to come over here. Here we go. Here we go. Just a few more minutes. Both of them, both CrowdStrike and Salesforce, ripped after the earnings, pulled back after the earnings, and then slowly and steadily made their way back up. They literally have an identical chart, both of them. And they're both almost up the same amount. CrowdStrike is up 3.2%. CRM, Salesforce up just a little bit over 4%. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I'm actually going to just push this over here. And just going to do that. I'll bring this in. Do that also. Perfect. Here we go. We're going to reload the page here. We're going to open the press release very quickly. Take a look once the numbers come out, and then Nvidia is going to be right over there. Go over to the 1 minute chart. Here we go. Here we go. You've got both earnings coming up right here. You got the share price and the reaction on the right. Couple minutes. It's actually crazy how one stock can have such an influence on the entire market. Just going to read some interesting tweets here along the way as well. Nvidia literally has making the entire world nervous. Because in a sense that, Nvidia earnings do affect the market, which affects monetary policy to some extent, even though the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says they don't care about where the markets are trading or what the markets are doing. In some sense, they certainly do. Okay, here we go. Starting to move up just a little bit, 39 basis points higher. Again, we do still have a couple more minutes until the numbers come out. Into the final minute we go. The final minute we go. Okay, slow and steady. Just watch it just crash down after the numbers come out. Up 1% right now, pre-market. After hours, after hours. 1% higher. Into the final minute. Pushing up, just over 1%, 1.4. We'll plug those numbers in as soon as they come out. 30 seconds, folks. Share, like, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, everybody, so that we can have more people join us. And the earnings call starts in 40 minutes, by the way. So while the report is very important, the earnings call is also going to be very, very important. Okay, I'll start refreshing. Starting to roll over just a little bit, Nvidia. 125, 149, that's where we are. So EPS came in at 67 cents per share for the company. Revenue came in at just over, so 68 cents versus 65 cents for the company here. Revenue came in at just over $30 billion. So they actually beat expectations, 30.07, and EPS came in at just over 67 cents per share. So that is, 67 cents. That's 148% growth on the revenue side. And then revenue 122%, earnings 148% for the company is what I have right now. 68 cents versus expectations of 64 cents for the business. And again, revenue coming in over $30 billion for the company as well. So that's what we have. Nvidia right now, just about 16 basis points lower. We'll take a look at that report here in just a minute. So 30 billion at 75% gross margin. Absolutely insane. I will share this. So here we go. So as of August 28th, so this is the number for the quarter ending in, again, for the most recent quarter. $30 billion is the number. This is the quarter ending in July. A 15% quarter over quarter, 122% on a year over year basis. GAAP earnings per share coming in at 67 cents. And that's up 12% from the previous quarter, up 168% as we already calculated on a year over year basis. And non-GAAP basis, again, 152% on a year over year basis. And we got 11% on a quarter over quarter basis for the company as well. So very, very flat reaction right now so far. I think it's really going to be dependent on what the company ends up announcing during the, here we go. So let's just go over to the numbers. Some of them are loading up, some of them are not. And then this right here are the numbers. So 30 billion, 75% margin here for the company. Operating expenses are under 3.4 billion. Diluted earnings per share on a GAAP basis, 67 cents. That's up 168% year over year and 122% increase on the revenue side of things, with the margins also expanding 5 percentage points on a gross basis. And operating income is also up 174% for the business as well. And then we've got data center up to as much as 26.3 billion. So let me just go over that very quickly. We'll take a look at the market's reaction here. So here we are for the other report. So that's Outlook. Expected at 32.5 billion plus minus 2%. So analysts were expecting 31 billion, I think, was that number. So yes, 31.7 billion was that number, and we came in at 32.5. So that is, again, a very strong guidance. We're going to plug that in, 32.5. That's almost 80% growth on a year-over-year basis for the business. Nvidia right now starting to roll over, down 3.6% after hours, down to $120 a share. Starting to see a little bit of a pullback, down almost 4% now, which is normal. I think 4 to 5% is still well within the contained measure. If the moment it gets up to over 10%, that's over a $300 billion sell-off, which again could be record-setting for the company. GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins expected to be 74.4 to 75% respectively. And we got GAAP and non-GAAP operating expenses expected approximately 4.3 billion, 3 billion respectively, and GAAP and non-GAAP other income expenses approximately 350 million. And data center was up 16% quarter over quarter and 154% year over year to $26.3 billion. And that was a combination of Nvidia H200 Tensor Core Nvidia Blackwell architecture. And here, hold on one second. Let me just bring this up as well for all of you. Now down 7% at the moment, 7% higher. 7% lower, actually, 7% lower. So $116 a share. Remember, my put strikes are $108. I'm just going to check in on all of you as well. 2,200 people watching. That's crazy. And we're starting to see a little bit of a sell-off in QQQs as well, down almost 1%. And we'll see if this recovery happens after Jensen Huang starts talking, but we're already at 115, down over 8% at the moment, 8%, 115. So if you take into account the context of things, $3 trillion market cap and 8% sell-off is already a $240 billion sell-off that's already happened in Nvidia stock. Buying opportunity, some may make a case that it is because the numbers so far have been fantastic. I mean, $30 billion in revenue, $22.5 billion in gross profit, both of them increasing by more than 100%, 150% in some cases. And then if you take a look at net income, bottom line, $16.5 billion. Once again, more than 100% increase on a year-over-year basis for the business. 68 cents per share. Diluted shares outstanding sitting at 24.8 billion. So it looks like they did buy some shares during the quarter. And then let me just come over to this. This was actually one of their best quarters, by the way. Record revenues, record profits, record everything. So again, we can come over here to press release. Now this is going to be coming out of the official channels. So come down. Again, there it is, $30 billion, record revenues, 75% gross margins, which is slightly lower than the previous quarter that we witnessed, right? And then we got just under $4 billion in operating expenses, operating income $18.6 billion, up 174% year over year. That's just insane growth. Net income just under $16.6 billion, 67 cents per share. Both are up 168%. And these are non-GAAP numbers, up 152% each. Quarter over quarter, everything is up. However, moderating down, and gross margins were actually down quarter over quarter. So that's actually probably the only small thing that I can take note of is quarter over quarter, we had gross margins slightly lower, 3 percentage points lower. And then it comes to outlooks, 32.5 billion, which we already discussed, 74.4 to 75% gross margins. And then we had for the full year, gross margins expected in the mid 70% range for the business. 26.3 billion, again, another record in data center revenue, 16% quarter over quarter, 154% year over year for the business. Gaming and PC, 2.9 billion, up 9% quarter over quarter, 16% year over year. And professional visualization, just under half $1 billion, up 6% quarter over quarter, 20% year over year, and 346 million, a 5% quarter over quarter, and 37% growth year over year for automotive revenues as well. So we'll listen in to the earnings call very soon, but the stock is now starting to recover a little bit as investors do see that as a very strong number. Record revenue, record data center revenue, record gross profit on a dollar term basis, not on a margin term basis. Margins, we did see a bit of a decline quarter over quarter and year over year, but record net income. Shares outstanding came down. Let's take a look at their balance sheet and how flushed is this company with cash. So coming back over here, scroll down a little bit. So this is going to be the income statement, which we have already covered. Come down to the balance sheet. Now, total current assets at almost $60 billion, with cash sitting at $34.8 billion. Their total liabilities are $27 billion. So in other words, they've got more cash than all of their liabilities right now on the balance sheet. $34.8 billion is their total cash and cash equivalents, marketable securities. And they also have, long-term debt, $8.4 billion. So very, very lean and very efficient business with only $27 billion of total liabilities. When it comes to free cash flow, so we can simply take the operating cash flow minus capex. So operating cash flow is $14.8 billion, which compared to the quarter ending in July last year, we had $9.2 billion. That was actually 6 months ending. So July 30th, 2023 was $6.3 billion. So that is, once again, over 150% growth on a year-over-year basis for the business. That's insane. And then, of course, if you take a look at the property, plant, equipment, purchase related to property, plant, equipment, 977 million, you basically subtract that number. So let's just do that. 14.4 minus 0.977, $13.4 billion of free cash flow generated by the business in the most recent quarter, which again is more than their long-term debt and half of their total liabilities for the company. So overall, I would say these were some incredible numbers from Nvidia so far as what we can see. And again, the stock price is a little bit more uncertain, still down about 3.5%, sold off, recovered a little bit. But again, the earnings call begins in about 30 minutes, everyone. Make sure that you drop a like. We've got over 2,300 people watching right now. 2,300 people. Please do me a favor and drop a like. And also, let us know where you're joining us from. Comment down below, comment in the chat, where exactly are you tuning us from? What part of the world? We got 1,200 votes with 69% of investors currently trading Nvidia in some shape or form, whether it's stocks, options, or any other trades that they are taking. And let us know where 2,300 of you guys are joining us today. That's incredible. So not only Nvidia hit a record high, even we hit a record high with the live viewership right now, 2,300 people. So we got Slovakia, Sweden, Switzerland, United States, Texas, Denmark, London. Wow, we got such a global audience today. That's incredible. Just waiting to listen to what Nvidia has to say. Jensen Huang has to say in the earnings call here. But overall, numbers very, very strong, I would say. Forecast third quarter revenue above expectations. Q2 professional visualization revenue $454 million versus consensus of $446. Auto revenue $346 versus consensus $350. So that may be a slight decline, slight miss for the company there. Revenue expected at $32.5 billion. That's also a very strong beat. I think that is going a little bit under the radar. $32.5 billion for the current quarter. 75% growth is still very strong. And again, the data center revenue coming in at a record 26.3 billion versus analyst consensus of 25.2 billion. Now we get into a little bit of a debate of how much of a beat was it, right? Was it a strong beat or was it a low beat? And this is an absurd discussion to have, because if a company's been growing at such high growth rates and it's still beating expectations, then to make a case for, was it a strong beat? Was it a good enough beat? Is in my opinion very poor argument for the stock price to maybe sell off. On that, because in absolute terms, this was just a blowout quarter for the company with very strong guidance also coming in. So CrowdStrike is also up 3.5%. CRM, Salesforce up 3.5% as well. And we've got about 18 minutes for Jensen Huang to come in. Jim Warwick, love your stuff, my guy. Keep up the great analysis. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And again, the numbers are out. We covered that just a bit ago, but overall, very, very strong numbers. You can also take a look at this yourself if you want to. I'll share the link. So this right here is the link for Nvidia's actual numbers that just came out. Feel free to check it out if you want to. But the numbers were absolutely, in my opinion, incredible, with record quarterly revenue, 30 billion, 122% increase, record quarterly data center revenue, up 154% increase, earnings per share, 67 cents, up 168% year over year. Outlook also beating expectations. And let's see, this is operating expenses, other income, and taxes, but they didn't really have any outlooks on the bottom line, profit or net income, right? And overall, I would say balance sheet improved. Debt levels were going slightly up by about very, very minimal amount here, not even worth noting. And total liabilities increased just a little bit, from other long-term liabilities increasing the most, from $2.5 billion to $3.3 billion. And accrued and other liabilities increasing from 6.6 to 10.2 billion. Let's take a look at how other stocks are doing. So for example, SMCI, after hours, it's down another 3.6%, back down to 427. Let's take a look at Advanced Micro Devices. AMD also down 1.27. Let's take a look at Intel. And Intel is down about 30 basis points right now. Qualcomm is down about 1%. Broadcom is down about almost 2%. Lam Research is down 1.3. ASML is down a little bit over 1.4. Texas Instruments is slightly higher. Lam Research is down about 1.3. So semiconductors all across the board are selling off right now, with SMH down 1.6 and SOXL is down 3.6%. However, we are seeing a little bit of that momentum back higher. Nvidia is really only down 3.7%, which again, in the grand scheme of things, is really not a whole lot for the stock. Let's take a look here. Also, just a few more things that I want to check out on this. Okay, from CEO Nvidia Jensen Huang, for the quarter, GAAP earnings 67 cents. 168% year over year. Hopper demand remains strong. The anticipation for Blackwell is incredible. Nvidia achieved record revenues as global data centers are in full throttle to modernize the entire computing stack with accelerated computing and generative AI. And during the first half of fiscal year 2025, Nvidia returned $15.4 billion to shareholders in the form of share repurchases and cash dividends. So again, we noted the shares outstanding going down on a year-over-year basis, and also on a quarter-over-quarter basis. So that is a good thing. $15.4 billion, even though Nvidia's dividend yield is actually quite a joke, because they only pay a cash dividend of a penny per share. So it's actually nothing, but the big benefit comes from the share buybacks that they did of $15 billion. And also they approved an additional $50 billion of share buybacks without expiration. So that's actually quite crazy. $50 billion can buy them back a lot of stock, which is exactly what we want to see: companies buying back shares, returning it in the form of, in the form of these repurchases back to the shareholders. And that's also a very, very bold statement, because, $50 billion of share buybacks into this own company, that just goes to show, it's like a stamp of confidence that, look, we can't come up with any better ideas with the $50 billion than to buy our own company stock, right? Than to buy back our own stock here and repurchase, because that's the best ROI that we can come up with for the $50 billion that we're spending. So that, again, is actually a pretty good deal, in my opinion, because Not a lot of companies are buying back that much every single. I mean, not a lot of companies' board of directors are authorizing $50 billion worth of buybacks. It's only the bigger companies, Magnificent Seven, that are doing that. And Apple's been able to do that very well over the years. And that's also what's resulted in that earnings growth for the company. Even though revenue and net income growth has been pretty modest, but the earnings growth has been very, very strong for the company like Apple because of the share buybacks. So Nvidia is also in a very similar camp. $50 billion is actually quite a lot in terms of its share buyback authorization. Dividend, a penny per share. Yeah, I mean, it's a really, to tempt Buffett. Brian says, yes, to tempt Warren Buffett for one penny per share. He'll have to buy a lot of shares in order to just make it make sense for him. Okay, there's so many comments coming in, so it's kind of hard to read through all of them. But again, thank you so much for joining, everyone. A huge shout out to every single person here, wherever you guys are tuning in from. I read a lot of really amazing locations, a lot of really beautiful places. So thanks again for joining. We're going to be listening into Jensen Huang in about 20 minutes here. And overall, I would say my first impression from the numbers here is hitting across the board, a lot of check marks, record revenue, record profits, record data center revenue, strong guidance, beating expectations across the board, and then also authorizing a big share buyback, strong balance sheet, good cash flow, even free cash flow growing at over 100% year over year. So everything kind of lines up really well for the stock. So down about 3%, kind of a modest reaction from the market, but I'm sure Jensen Huang can restore some of that confidence, even if there is some doubts among investors, which has resulted in the stock price to come down because expectations were really high, right? So you can sometimes live up to those high expectations. And for those reasons, I think that's the only reason I can think of why the stock price is down 3%, because everybody was expecting it to be higher, and for it to be slightly lower, it's completely normal. So 121.94 is where we're at, down almost 3%, and 3% of 3 trillion, that's about $90 billion, and that's still not a whole lot of market movement here. We were, of course, down almost 8% at one point. At that point, I remember talking about buying opportunity. You just never know. You were down over 10.6% from our after hours peak of 128. And of course, from those levels, we have now recovered a 6.4%. So incredible amounts of volatility for Nvidia. Okay, so let me break down some of the comments here. By the way, everyone, make sure that you drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Please do subscribe if you're joining us for the first time, because we do cover a lot of fundamental analysis, macro analysis, technical breakdowns, options trading strategies, long-term investing strategies. Everything's going to be covered. So if you are interested in more objective analysis, more analysis without any emotions involved, more data-driven breakdowns, definitely do subscribe. I would really, really appreciate that. Yeah, so if you're planning to hold for the very long term, we're talking 3, 5, 7, 10 years out, depending on your time horizon, I think it's okay to dollar cost average, depending on, of course, where you find value in that particular stock, right? So there's also calculators on our platform which you can use. So, you can come over here, you can pretty much analyze using our analyzer tools and, take a look at what's the intrinsic value according to your analysis for individual stocks, and then decide whether it's worth buying or not. Nvidia only down 1.3%. Can we turn green? Can we turn green? So I'm going to end this poll. This is actually quite an insane poll. We did a poll. I'm going to put it on stream. So we did a poll asking people how many investors, traders here have vested interest in Nvidia stock because of the earnings that were coming out today. A whopping 70% of the 1,627 votes that we received that were traders, investors that had or have a position in Nvidia stock, options, or other trades. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Just insane amount of support, or how many investors are bullish on Nvidia. That's incredible. So we're going to end the poll here. So let's just start a new one. We'll ask everyone, Nvidia stock turns green, turns more red. Let's do that. So let us know. We're only 1.3% away, folks, from turning green. 1.3% away from turning green. I sold a cover call $208 that expires August 30th. Does anyone know what happens if a person were to sell the underlying 100 shares? So you sold a covered put. You sold a covered put for $208. Pink Panther, why would you pick a strike of $208? That's deep in the money put. Were you expecting Nvidia to be higher than $208 by August 30th? What? Wait a second. Like, sold a cover put, okay, catch a good put, $208. You mean $108? You must mean $108. Okay, yeah. I was going to say $108. Yeah. Yeah, so $108, so it's still out of the money. It's at 121 right now, so you've got the same put as me, so $108 still out of the money, and expires Friday, August 30th, same as mine. So if so the buyer doesn't have any right because it's not in the money yet. The buyer can exercise his or her right when the put option is in the money. In that case, if it's below $108, anytime before or at expiration, then they can exercise their right to buy the shares, to sell their shares to you, and then you'll be obligated to buy the shares at that strike price. So since you are still out of the money, you're fine, at least for now. We'll see what happens tomorrow and of course Friday. Yeah, $208 would have been crazy. PDD SMCI December calls out of the money on the dip, should print nicely. That's great, Frank. You know what you're doing. You're always printing money there. So I love to hear what you're up to with your trades. So congratulations. It's incredible. Jensen Huang coming on in about 17 minutes or so. So we'll be ready to listen in to the earnings call as well. Reminder on the day of the event, get access to the webcast 15 minutes before the start time. Still down 2.7%. So, okay, what are the polls like? 75% of you guys, 75% expecting Nvidia to turn green. Share with thoughts on 115 puts. So, sold them or bought them? Have you bought 115 puts or have you sold them? 115 still close. I mean, we were just at under 115 for a brief moment. I'm still not 100% sure if Nvidia is going to be able to turn green here, because we did see a bit of a drop, quite aggressive drop here at 115, and then of course recovered just a little bit. It's really going to come down to what Jensen Huang says and his team says during the earnings call, but I'm still not 100% sure if Nvidia can hold up these levels right now that everyone's been able to digest that report. A little bit of technical analysis there for everyone. Okay, all says favorite YouTuber, keep being great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And again, I don't consider myself as a YouTuber. I just use the medium of YouTube to share my analysis and content. So thank you so much for sharing that message, and I am glad that you're enjoying the content. That's what we aim to do. Okay, bought puts 119, 115, and a couple shots in the wind at 105. Gotcha. So, I mean, 119's already, they were both 115 and 119 briefly in the money when Nvidia dropped here. So I guess really the question is, and then again, what's the expiration there? Are they expiring later this week, or you've got more time? Thoughts on Intuit stock? No, that's actually a good question, because Intuit is one of those companies that we haven't analyzed yet in a very long time. And I was actually looking at that stock from a different angle today, because I think Intuit has a lot of, if there's one stock in technology sector that has a lot of influence of the tax code, and then it's going to be influenced by who ends up winning the presidential election campaign in November, it's Intuit stock, because it's pretty much detail on companies like TurboTax, applications like TurboTax, Credit Karma, like a lot of these companies that very much rely on federal income tax filings and state filings and all that, all those tax reports. And if that were to, let's say, get changed or updated after the expiration in 2025, then Intuit is one of those companies that does get affected a lot. It's been mostly flat for a very long time, but we'll take a look at that in more detail in another video. Intuit is a stock that I feel has a lot of potential because of its suite of applications. I mean, I've been using it for quite some time, but it really hasn't done anything in a long time, and there is that political risk that also hangs over Intuit. So awesome stream, man. Thank you so much. Still though, the Max 7 is all red. I'm really curious about the market tomorrow. So let's just quickly take a look at all of our spreadsheets, shall we? So let's start with market concentration. We'll take a look at how the day ended for today. So I'll let these all update, and then we'll see how much Magnificent 7 collectively lost. And then we'll do another poll, quick poll. Oh, didn't have to show you guys that. Okay, so it wasn't updated, so that's good. Okay, now it is updated here. 2% sell-off in Nvidia. Just want to make sure that that is indeed correct. Yep, so 2.1% sell-off. That was that $66 billion loss. So overall, the entire S&P 500, folks, and this is a quiz. This is time for a quiz for all the 1,800 people that are in there. We had S&P 500 drop by almost $300 billion, so $294 billion was the loss for S&P 500. How much of that you think can be attributed to Max 7? That's the question. How much of that $294 billion loss came from Magnificent 7 stocks? The 7 that we know of: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, Tesla, Nvidia. How much of that $294 billion loss came from those Magnificent 7? 50%, 60%, 80%, 70%? What do you think? What do you think? What percentage? Whoever gets it right wins a question that they can ask. And be precise. I want precise answers. 85%, 80%, 90%. Okay, so we're gonna have a lot of questions. I mean, a lot of answers here that I'm gonna have to come back to. Dio says 2%, 70, 86, 35, 69, 90, almost all of it, 89, 6%. So let's take a look. 294 billion S&P 500 loss. 178 billion came from Max 7. This actually number went down. This went down, didn't it? So if you do the math now, if you take this number and then divide it by this number here, we're looking at a percentage 61%. This number went down. Earlier we were looking at this and we saw 80 something percent. I think it was 84% or 80%. And that number went down. So let's see who had 61%. Who was the closest? 85, 85, 50, 87, 60. So Yongguan, 60%, very close. Jim Warwick, 65%. So very close as well. Nobody precisely predicted 61, right? Wait Yar said 60% as well. Oh, now everybody's saying 61. Yeah, so 61% of that loss came from Magnificent 7. And a lot of that came, of course, from Nvidia, which was down over $66 billion on the day. 37% of that came from Nvidia. Okay, so we are down about 4.3% right now. 10 minutes left for the earnings calls to begin. It's already started, so we're going to mute that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this out like that. And we are ready to go. That's going to be the earnings call. Perfect. How is that set up for all of you? We're going to do an audio check very soon, but we've got Nvidia stock right there, earnings call right there, and my beautiful face in the bottom left. Yes, Vault, I'll do the technical analysis on PayPal during our market updates. So I'll do the market update right after this live stream. It looks like it's going to be a pretty long night for me. It's almost 1 here. So, folks, drop a like for the sleepy me and Jensen Huang. I would really appreciate that. Let's get up to at least over 800 likes on this live stream. Helps out the channel. And right now, we've got Nvidia down over 4.5%. Earnings call starting in about 9 minutes here. 9 minutes. We are live. We're live from not New York. We're live from Tbilisi today. Georgia. Yes, we have to get 200,000 subscribers, everyone. So 1,800 people watching right now. I'm sure we can easily increase at least 1,000 subscribers today. Help us get us to that goal by the end of this year. It's a big dream. So subscribe to the channel. Really help us out. A great cause. Only takes a second. I know you can do it. Yeah, I did feel my pain with PayPal. Yes, definitely. Bargy says, I have some screen problems. You said your beautiful face, but it's not pretty here. Oh man, that's a nice shot. I like that. I like that. Have you tried some khachapuri? Yes, quite a few times. Actually, a couple times. Khachapuri, Kinkali, had all of that. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, so tell me if there's any other foods that I can try here while I'm here in Georgia. And then tomorrow, I've got pretty packed next few days. Sending you some Starbucks. Yes, man, we're such stock geeks that even when we're sending each other gifts, we're talking in stock tickers. Let me buy you a Starbucks. SBUX, not the coffee. Okay, 741 votes. Nvidia turns green, 75%. Man, we've had 75% for every poll that we have done. Nvidia stock turning green, 75%. Nvidia stock going higher, 75%. How many people are trading Nvidia? 75%. It's all been 75%. So it makes sense, right? It makes sense because people who are trading Nvidia want it to be higher. So that's 75. People who are not trading it, they want it at lower prices. So it's 25%. So for both polls, we're at 25%. The beat wasn't enough. This is supposed to be at least green. So I think the beat was good. I think it was a pretty strong beat from the company with record revenues. I mean, at this point, how much can you really do, right? You're growing revenues by triple digits. You're already in the billions of dollars. The size and scale of the company is so large that I think the law of large numbers will catch up very soon, right? So Vincent, by the way, it's 5 a.m. in the morning of 29. So where are you watching us from, Vincent? I'm assuming you're further on the east, but what part of the world are you watching us from? Definitely not India. India, it's about 2:30 in the morning. So I'm assuming you're somewhere even further east. Where is it 5 a.m. right now? Japan? What time is it in Japan? Kuala Lumpur. So Malaysia is about 5 a.m. So maybe you're watching us from Malaysia. From Taiwan. Okay. Nice. Very cool. Let's see. Who's the farthest on the time zone right now? Can anyone beat Vincent from Taiwan, where it's 5 a.m.? Can anyone beat him? What time is it in Australia right now? Who's literally the farthest, most ahead in time right now among all of us? While we wait, guys, this is just the 1 a.m. version of me talking. I'm very sleepy, so I do apologize. Australia, 7 a.m. Okay, Marcus, early in the morning for you. Early in the morning for Marcus here, 7 in the morning. Man, I could never live in Australia for a long period of time because if I'm trading or investing in the US markets, the entire night, it's just my sleep schedule would be so messed up. That's one of the reasons why I dread going to Australia in the first place, is that I won't be able to stay up like the entire night. I won't be able to trade, I won't be able to look at the markets, and it's going to be a bit of a hassle. It is a headache. It's great for going there just for a few weeks, but I wouldn't be ever be able to live there. Fragrance says 4:55 p.m. in Florida. For me, it's 11 in the evening, Netherlands. So let's see who is now the farthest on the other side. Who is the most west right now in, I think, probably LA, Los Angeles, if anybody's joining us from there. What time is it in LA? Like almost 1 p.m.? 2 p.m.? We got 2 p.m. and then we've got all the way to 7 in the morning. 100%, I'm at a less state energy. right now, so I'm literally just talking. I'm just ready to shut up and let Jensen Huang talk now at this point. For an hour 20, 2 in the morning. Not an easy thing to do, man. Okay, 4 p.m. in Texas, San Francisco, 1:56 p.m. in Long Beach, Cali. So 2 p.m. We got 2 p.m. to beat. 2 p.m. to beat on the West. Anyone? See, this is what I'm talking about. Even at 2 in the morning here, these motorcycles, they just keep going. 2 p.m. Anyone? 2 p.m. going once. Can anyone beat that? Anyone even more west? 3 p.m. Colorado. Still doesn't beat LA. New Zealand, 9 a.m. Okay, so we have a winner. Brent, farthest on the east side. 9 in the morning for New Zealand. Midwest, 4 p.m. Michelle, still not good enough. We have people in San Francisco at 2 p.m. 12:57. So currently visiting Alaska. Is Alaska more west than LA? Is it a different time zone? I'm sorry, guys. My time zone geography isn't the best, but let me just take a look. By the way, Jensen Huang starts talking in 2 minutes here. Yeah, 1:56, Beverly Hills. Okay, giving it 9 a.m. New Zealand, winner, and then 2 p.m. in California. That's what we have. Palm Springs, yep. It's all the Cali people. Congratulations. You are on this chat the most far behind, I would say. Okay, coming back over to this. Just waiting for this to start. Nvidia is still down about 3.8, almost 4%. I'm going to grab water once he starts talking. Yes, Alaska is farther west than LA. I mean, Sarah Pellin said she could see Russia from her back porch. Okay, that's incredible. So I guess, no, Alaska is 12:57 p.m. and California is 1:57 p.m., right? Selek, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Cheers for Californians. Wow, earthquake alert in Taiwan. So hope everyone is doing well there. Yeah, knew it was going to be hard to surprise on such a big expectation, such high expectation. So that's normal, you know, for companies to beat expectations but still not come in strong enough for Wall Street to be happy, because I feel like they can never be happy. So I live in Dubai, but I'm streaming from Tbilisi, Georgia right now. That's where I'm at, traveling at the moment. 11 p.m. in Malta. I've always wanted to go to Malta. By the way, a lot of the places that you guys are from, I definitely want to visit. So it's kind of good to see, good to know that, you know, we've got friends all over the place, all over the world, and this is the community is what kind of connects us together. And that's what I mentioned in our Discord as well, that look, if you're traveling someplace, actually know that you've got friends there. You've got people that are part of the Moneyvest community there that you can meet up with, that you can hang out with if you want, that can guide you in that particular country, so that at least you've got a friendly face. Even though you've never met, you still have people that are part of the same community. And that's what I think is so cool, that you're always going to a place where you have a friend already as part of the community. So that's why I do these, you know, sometimes I ask you guys where you guys are joining us from, because that way you can connect with each other as well. And even in our Discord, people can connect with each other. I'll do an audio check. So let me know if the audio is good. This is a different mic, so I hope the audio is going to be fine. Alex says, I'm new to the community. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining. I really appreciate it. So a little bit of a rundown on the community. So what we like to do is full fundamental analysis on individual stocks, as well as macroeconomics. We cover technical analysis on stocks, options trading, swing trading, long-term investing, as well as looking at educational stuff. So you've got courses on psychology of investing, options, fundamentals, technicals. Everything's available, and our focus is very much on data-driven analysis. So try to remove emotions as much as possible and let the numbers and the data make the decisions for us. And then again, we have a Discord community, thousands of traders, investors globally. As you already know, so many countries represent from all over the world. So you can join. There's a lot of people in your shoes getting started, people that are also experienced with multiple decades worth of experience. So you can learn from everyone.
Of fiscal 2025 is scheduled for Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. With that, let me turn the call over to Colette.
Thanks, Stuart. Q2 was another record quarter. Revenue of $30 billion was up 15% sequentially and up 122% year on year, and well above our outlook of $28 billion. Starting with data center. Data center revenue of $26.3 billion was a record, up 16% sequentially and up 154% year on year, driven by strong demand for Nvidia Hopper GPU computing and our networking platforms. Compute revenue grew more than 2.5x. Networking revenue grew more than 2x from the last year. Cloud service providers represented roughly 45% of our data center revenue, and more than 50% stemmed from the consumer, internet, and enterprise companies. Customers continue to accelerate their Hopper architecture purchases while gearing up to adopt Blackwell. Key workloads driving our data center growth include generative AI, model training and inferencing, video, image, and text data, pre- and post-processing with CUDA and AI workloads, synthetic data generation, AI-powered recommender systems, SQL and vector database processing as well. Next generation models will require 10 to 20 times more compute to train with significantly more data. The trend is expected to continue. Over the trailing 4 quarters, we estimate that inference drove more than 40% of our data center revenue. CSPs, consumer internet companies, and enterprises benefit from the incredible throughput and efficiency of NVIDIA's inference platform. Demand for NVIDIA is coming from frontier model makers, consumer internet services, and tens of thousands of companies and startups building generative AI applications for consumers, advertising, education, enterprise and healthcare, and robotics. Developers desire NVIDIA's rich ecosystem and availability in every cloud. CSPs appreciate the broad adoption of NVIDIA and are growing their NVIDIA capacity given the high demand. NVIDIA H200 platform began ramping in Q2, shipping to large CSPs, consumer internet, and enterprise companies. The NVIDIA H200 builds upon the strength of our Hopper architecture and offering over 40% more memory bandwidth compared to the H100. Our data center revenue in China grew sequentially in Q2 and is a significant contributor to our data center revenue. As a percentage of total data center revenue, it remains below levels seen prior to the imposition of export controls. We continue to expect the China market to be very competitive going forward. The latest round of MLPerf inference benchmarks highlighted NVIDIA's inference leadership with both NVIDIA Hopper and Blackwell platforms combining to win gold medals on all tests. At Computex, Nvidia, with the top computer manufacturers, unveiled an array of Blackwell architecture-powered systems and Nvidia networking for building AI factories and data centers. With the Nvidia MGX modular reference architecture, our OEMs and ODM partners are building more than 100 Blackwell-based systems designed quickly and cost-effectively. The Nvidia Blackwell platform brings together multiple GPU, CPU, DPU, NVLink switch, and the networking chips, systems, and Nvidia CUDA software to power the next generation of AI across the cases, industries, and countries. The Nvidia GB200 NVL72 system with the 5th generation NVLink enables all 72 GPUs to act as a single GPU and deliver up to 30 times faster inference for LLMs workloads and unlocking the ability to run trillion parameter models in real time. Hopper demand is strong and Blackwell is widely sampling. We executed a change to the Blackwell GPU mass to improve production yields. Blackwell production ramp is scheduled to begin in the fourth quarter and continue into fiscal year 26. In Q4, we expect to ship several $billion in Blackwell revenue. Hopper shipments are expected to increase in the second half of fiscal 2025. Hopper supply and availability have improved. Demand for Blackwell platforms is well above supply, and we expect this to continue into next year. Networking revenue increased 16% sequentially. Our Ethernet for AI revenue, which includes our Spectrum X end-to-end Ethernet platform, doubled sequentially with hundreds of customers adopting our Ethernet offerings. Spectrum X has broad market support from OEM and ODM partners and is being adopted by CSPs, GPU cloud providers, and enterprise, including xAI, to connect the largest GPU compute cluster in the world. Spectrum X supercharges Ethernet for AI processing and delivers 1.6x the performance of traditional Ethernet. We plan to launch new Spectrum X products every year to support demand for scaling compute clusters from tens of thousands of GPUs today to millions of GPUs in the near future. Spectrum X is well on track to begin a multi-billion-dollar product line within a year. Our sovereign AI opportunities continue to expand as countries recognize AI expertise and infrastructure at national imperatives for their society and industries. Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology is building its AI Bridging Cloud Infrastructure 3.0 supercomputer with Nvidia. We believe sovereign AI revenue will reach low double-digit billions this year. The enterprise AI wave has started. Enterprises also drove sequential revenue growth in the quarter. We are working with most of the Fortune 100 companies on AI initiatives across industries and geographies. A range of applications are fueling our growth, including AI-powered chatbots, generative AI copilots, and agents to build new monetizable business applications and enhance employee productivity. Amdocs is using NVIDIA generative AI for their smart agent, transforming the customer experience and reducing customer service costs by 30%. ServiceNow is using NVIDIA for its Now Assist offering, the fastest growing new product in the company's history. SAP is using NVIDIA to build Joule copilots. Cohesity is using NVIDIA to build their generative AI agent and lower generative AI development costs. Snowflake serves over 3 billion queries a day for over 10,000 enterprise customers, is working with NVIDIA to build copilots. And lastly, Wistron is using NVIDIA AI Omniverse to reduce end-to-end cycle times for their factories by 50%. Automotive was a key growth driver for the quarter, as every automaker developing autonomous vehicle technology is using NVIDIA in their data centers. Automotive will drive multi-billion dollars in revenue across on-prem and cloud consumption, and will grow as next generation AV models require significantly more compute. Healthcare is also on its way to being a multi-billion dollar business as AI revolutionizes medical imaging, surgical robots, patient care, electronic health record processing, and drug discovery. During the quarter, we announced a new Nvidia AI Foundry service to supercharge generative AI for the world's enterprises with Meta's Llama 3.1 collection of models. This marks a watershed moment for enterprise AI. Companies, for the first time, can leverage the capabilities of an open source frontier level model to develop customized AI applications to encode their institutional knowledge into an AI flywheel to automate and accelerate their business. Accenture is the first to adopt the new service to build custom Llama 3.1 models for both its own use and to assist clients seeking to deploy generative AI applications. Nvidia NIMs accelerate and simplify model deployment. Companies across healthcare, energy, financial services, retail, transportation, and telecommunications are adopting NIMs, including Aramco, Lowe's, and Uber. AT&T realized 70% cost savings and 8 times latency reduction after moving into NIMs for generative AI, call transcription, and classification. Over 150 partners are embedding NIMs across every layer of the AI ecosystem. We announced NIM Agent Blueprints, a catalog of customizable reference applications that include a full suite of software for building and deploying enterprise generative AI applications. With NIM Agent Blueprints, enterprises can refine their AI applications over time, creating a data-driven AI flywheel. The first NIM Agent Blueprints include workloads for customer service, computer-aided drug discovery, and enterprise retrieval augmented generation. Our system integrators, technology solution providers, and system builders are bringing NVIDIA NIM Agent Blueprints to enterprises. NVIDIA NIM and NIM Agent Blueprints are available through the NVIDIA AI Enterprise Software Platform, which has great momentum. We expect our software, SaaS, and support revenue to approach a $2 billion annual run rate exiting this year, with NVIDIA AI Enterprise notably contributing to growth. Moving to gaming and AI PCs. Gaming revenue of $2.88 billion increased 9% sequentially and 16% year on year. We saw sequential growth in console, notebook, and desktop revenue, and demand is strong and growing, and channel inventory remains healthy. Every PC with RTX is an AI PC. RTX PCs can deliver up to 1,300 AI TOPS, and there are now over 200 RTX AI laptops designed from leading PC manufacturers. With 600 AI-powered applications and games and an installed base of 100 million devices, RTX is set to revolutionize consumer experiences with generative AI. NVIDIA ACE, a suite of generative AI technologies, is available for RTX AI PCs. Mega Break is the first game to use NVIDIA ACE, including our small language model, Minitron 4B, optimized on device inference. The NVIDIA gaming ecosystem continues to grow. Recently added RTX and DLSS titles include Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Dune Awakening, and Dragon Age, the Veilguard. The GeForce Now library continues to expand with total catalog size of over 2,000 titles, the most content of any cloud gaming service. Moving to pro visualization. Revenue of $454 million was up 6% sequentially and 20% year on year. Demand is being driven by AI and graphic use cases, including model fine-tuning and Omniverse-related workloads. Automotive and manufacturing were among the key industry verticals driving growth this quarter. Companies are racing to digitalize workflows to drive efficiency across their operations. The world's largest electronics manufacturer, Foxconn, is using Nvidia Omniverse to power digital twins of the physical plants that produce Nvidia Blackwell systems. And several large global enterprises, including Mercedes-Benz, signed multi-year contracts for Nvidia Omniverse Cloud to build industrial digital twins of factories. We announced new Nvidia USD NIMs and connectors to open Omniverse to new industries and enable developers to incorporate generative AI copilots and agents into USD workflows, accelerating their ability to build highly accurate virtual worlds. WPP is implementing USD NIM microservices in its generative AI-enabled content creation pipeline for customers, such as the Coca-Cola Company. Moving to automotive and robotics, revenue was $346 million, up 5% sequentially and up 37% year-on-year. Year-on-year growth was driven by the new customer ramps in self-driving platforms and increased demand for AI cockpit solutions. At the Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition Conference, Nvidia won the Autonomous Grand Challenge in the end-to-end driving at scale category, outperforming more than 400 entries worldwide. Boston Dynamics, BYD Electronics, Figure, Intrinsic, Siemens, Skilled AI, and Teradyne Robotics are using the Nvidia Isaac robotics platform for autonomous robot arms, humanoids, and mobile robots. Now moving to the rest of the P&L. GAAP gross margins were 75.1% and non-GAAP gross margins were 75.7%, down sequentially due to a higher mix of new products within data center and inventory provisions for low-yielding Blackwell material. Sequentially, GAAP and non-GAAP operating expenses were up 12%, primarily reflecting higher compensation-related costs. Cash flow from operations was $14.5 billion. In Q2, we utilized cash of $7.4 billion toward shareholder returns in the form of share repurchases and cash dividends, reflecting the increase in dividend per share. Our board of directors recently approved a $50 billion share repurchase authorization to add to our remaining $7.5 billion of authorization at the end of Q2. Let me turn the outlook for the third quarter. Total revenue is expected to be $32.5 billion, plus or minus 2%. Our third quarter revenue outlook incorporates continued growth of our Hopper architecture and sampling of our Blackwell products. We expect Blackwell production ramp in Q4. GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins are expected to be 74.4% and 75% respectively, plus or minus 50 basis points. As our data center mix continues to shift to new products, we expect this trend to continue into the fourth quarter of fiscal 2025. For the full year, we expect gross margins to be in the mid-70% range. GAAP and non-GAAP operating expenses are expected to be approximately $4.3 billion and $3.0 billion, respectively. Full-year operating expenses are expected to grow in the mid to upper 40% range as we work on developing our next generation of products. GAAP and non-GAAP other income and expenses are expected to be about $350 million, including gains and losses from non-affiliated investments and publicly held equity securities. GAAP and non-GAAP tax rates are expected to be 17%, plus or minus 1%, excluding any discrete items. Further financial details are included in the CFO commentary and other information available on our IR website. We are now going to open the call for questions. Operator, would you please help us and poll for questions?
Thank you. And at this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, press star and then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We will pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster. And as a reminder, we ask that you please limit yourself to 1 question. And your first question comes from the line of Vivek Arya with Bank of America Securities. Your line is open.
Thanks for taking my question. Jensen, you mentioned in the prepared comments that there's a change in the Blackwell GPU mask. I'm curious, are there any other incremental changes in back-end packaging or anything else? And I think related, you suggested that you could ship several $billion of Blackwell in Q4 despite a change in the design. Is it because all these issues will be solved by then? Just help us size what is the overall impact of any changes in Blackwell timing, what that means to your kind of revenue profile, and how are customers reacting to it?
Yeah, thanks, Vivek. The change to the mask is complete. There were no functional changes necessary. And so we're sampling functional samples of Grace Blackwell, in a variety of system configurations as we speak. There are something like 100 different types of Blackwell-based systems that are built that were shown at Computex. And we're enabling our ecosystem to start sampling those. The functionality of Blackwell is as it is, and we expect to start production in Q4.
And your next question comes from the line of Toshiya Hari with Goldman Sachs. Your line is open.
Hi, thank you so much for taking the question. Jensen, I had a relatively longer-term question. As you may know, there's a pretty heated debate in the market on your customers and customers' return on investment, and what that means for the sustainability of capex going forward. Internally at Nvidia, what are you guys watching? What's on your dashboard as you try to gauge customer return and how that impacts capex? And then a quick follow-up maybe for Colette. I think your sovereign AI number for the full year went up maybe a couple billion. What's driving the improved outlook, and how should we think about fiscal 26? Thank you.
Thanks, Toshiya. First of all, when I said ship production in Q4, I mean shipping out. I don't mean starting to ship, I don't mean starting production, but shipping out. On the longer term question, let's take a step back. And you've heard me say that we're going through 2 simultaneous platform transitions at the same time. The first one is transitioning from general purpose computing to accelerated computing. And the reason for that is because CPU scaling has been known to be slowing for some time. And it is slow to a crawl. And yet the amount of computing demand continues to grow quite significantly. You could maybe even estimate it to be doubling every single year. And so if we don't have a new approach, computing inflation would be driving up the cost for every company, and it would be driving up the energy consumption of data centers around the world. In fact, you're seeing that. And so the answer is accelerated computing. We know that accelerated computing, of course, speeds up applications. It also enables you to do computing at a much larger scale, for example, scientific simulations or database processing. But what that translates directly to is lower cost and lower energy consumed. And in fact, this week, there's a blog that came out that talked about a whole bunch of new libraries that we offer. And that's really the core of the first platform transition, going from general purpose computing to accelerated computing. And it's not unusual to see someone save 90% of their computing cost. And the reason for that is, of course, you just sped up an application 50x. You would expect the computing cost to decline quite significantly. The second was enabled by accelerated computing because we drove down the cost of training large language models or training deep learning so incredibly that it is now possible to have gigantic scale models, multi-trillion parameter models, and pre-train it on just about the world's knowledge corpus, and let the model go figure out how to understand human language representation and how to codify knowledge into its neural networks and how to learn reasoning. And which caused the generative AI revolution. Now, generative AI, taking a step back about why it is that we went so deeply into it, is because it's not just a feature, it's not just a capability, it's a fundamental new way of doing software. Instead of human engineered algorithms, we now have data. We tell the AI, we tell the model, we tell the computer what are the expected answers, what are our previous observations, and then for it to figure out what the algorithm is, what's the function. It learns a universal, AI is a bit of a universal function approximator, and it learns the function. And so you can learn the function of almost anything, and anything that you have that's predictable, anything that has structure, anything that that you have previous examples of. And so now here we are with generative AI. It's a fundamental new form of computer science. It's affecting how every layer of computing is done, from CPU to GPU, from human engineered algorithms to machine learned algorithms, and the type of applications you could now develop and produce is fundamentally remarkable. And there are several things that are happening in generative AI. So the first thing that's happening is the frontier models are growing in quite substantial scale. And we're still all seeing the benefits of scaling. And whenever you double the size of a model, you also have to more than double the size of the data set to go train it. And so the amount of flops necessary in order to create that model goes up quadratically. And so it's not unusual, it's not unexpected to see that the next generation models could take 10, 20, 40 times more compute than last generation. So we have to continue to drive the generational performance up quite significantly so we can drive down the energy consumed and drive down the cost necessary to do it. So the first one is there are larger frontier models trained on more modalities, and surprisingly, there are more frontier model makers than last year. And so you have more on more on more. That's one of the dynamics going on in generative AI. The second is, although it's below the tip of the iceberg, what we see are ChatGPT, image generators. We see coding. We use generative AI for coding quite extensively here at Nvidia now. We of course have a lot of digital designers and things like that, but those are kind of the tip of the iceberg. What's below the iceberg are the largest computing systems in the world today, which are, and you've heard me talk about this in the past, which are recommender systems moving from CPUs. It's now moving from CPUs to generative AI. So recommender systems, ad generation, custom ad generation, targeting ads at very large scale and quite hyper targeting, search and user generated content. These are all very large scale applications have now evolved to generative AI. Of course, the number of generative AI startups is generating tens of billions of dollars of cloud renting opportunities for our cloud partners, and sovereign AI. Countries that are now realizing that their data is their natural and national resource, and they have to use AI, build their own AI infrastructure so that they could have their own digital intelligence. Enterprise AI, as Colette mentioned earlier, is starting, and you might have seen our announcement that the world's leading IT companies are joining us to take the Nvidia AI Enterprise platform to the world's enterprises. The companies that we're talking to, so many of them are just so incredibly excited to drive more productivity out of their company. And then And then general robotics. The big transformation last year as we are able to now learn physical AI from watching video and human demonstration and synthetic data generation, from reinforcement learning from systems like Omniverse. We are now able to work with just about every robotics companies now to start building general robotics. And so you can see that there are just so many different directions that generative AI is going. And so we're actually seeing the momentum of generative AI accelerating.
And Toshiya, to answer your question regarding sovereign AI and our goals in terms of growth, in terms of revenue, it certainly is a unique and growing opportunity, something that surfaced with generative AI and the desires of countries around the world to have their own generative AI that would be able to incorporate their own language, incorporate their own culture, incorporate their own data in that country. So more and more excitement around these models and what they can be specific for those countries. So yes, we are seeing some growth opportunity in front of us.
And your next question comes from the line of Joe Moore with Morgan Stanley. Your line is open.
Great, thank you. Jensen, in the press release, you talked about Blackwell anticipation being incredible, but it seems like Hopper demand is also really strong. I mean, you're guiding for a very strong quarter without Blackwell in October. So, how long do you see sort of coexisting strong demand for both? And can you talk about the transition to Blackwell? Do you see people intermixing clusters? Do you think most of the Blackwell activity is new clusters? Just some sense of what that transition looks like.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. The demand for Hopper is really strong. And it's true, the demand for Blackwell is incredible. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is if you just look at the world's cloud service providers and the amount of GPU capacity they have available, it's basically none. And the reason for that is because they're either being deployed internally for accelerating their own workloads, data processing, for example. Data processing, we hardly ever talk about it because it's mundane. It's not very cool because it doesn't generate a picture or, generate words, but almost every single company in the world processes data in the background. And NVIDIA's GPUs are the only accelerators on the planet that process and accelerate data. SQL data, Pandas data science toolkits like Pandas, and the new one, Polars. These are the most popular data processing platforms in the world. And aside from CPUs, which, as I've mentioned before, really running out of steam, NVIDIA's accelerated computing is really the only way to get boosting performance out of that. And so that's number one, is the number one use case long before generative AI came along is the migration of applications one after another to accelerated computing. The second is, of course, the rentals. They're renting capacity to model makers, they're renting it to startup companies. And a generative AI company spends the vast majority of their invested capital into infrastructure so that they could use an AI to help them create products. And so these companies need it now. They just simply can't afford, you just raise money, they want you to put it to use now. You have processing that you have to do. You can't do it next year, you got to do it today. And so there's a fair, that's one reason. The second reason for Hopper demand right now is because of the race to the next plateau. The first person to the next plateau gets to be, gets to introduce a revolutionary level of AI. The second person who gets there is incrementally, better or about the same. And so the ability to systematically and consistently race to the next plateau and be the first one there is how you establish leadership. NVIDIA is constantly doing that, and we show that to the world in the GPUs we make and the AI factories that we make. the networking systems that we make, the SoCs we create. I mean, we want to set the pace. We want to be consistently the world's best, and that's the reason why we drive ourselves so hard. Of course, we also want to see our dreams come true, and all of the capabilities that we imagine in the future and the benefits that we can bring to society. We want to see all that come true, and so these model makers are the same. They're of course they want to be the world's best. They want to be the world's first, and although Blackwell will start shipping out in billions of dollars at the end of this year, the standing up of the capacity is still probably weeks and a month or so away. And so between now and then is a lot of generative AI market dynamic. And so everybody is just really in a hurry. It's either operational reasons that they need it. They need accelerated computing. They don't want to build any more general purpose computing infrastructure. And even Hopper, of course, H200 is state of the art. Hopper, if you have a choice between building CPU infrastructure right now for business or Hopper infrastructure for business right now, that decision is relatively clear. And so I think people are just clamoring to transition the $1 trillion of established installed infrastructure to a modern infrastructure, and Hopper is state of the art.
And your next question comes from the line of Matt Ramsey with TD Cowen. Your line is open.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Jensen, I wanted to kind of circle back to an earlier question about the debate that investors are having about, the ROI on all of this capex. And hopefully this question and the distinction will make some sense. But what I'm having discussions about is with the percentage of folks that you see that are spending all of this money and looking to sort of push the frontier towards AGI convergence and, as you just said, a new plateau in capability. And they're going to spend regardless to get to that level of capability because it opens up so many doors for the industry and for their company versus customers that are really, really focused today on capex versus ROI. I don't know if that distinction makes sense. I'm just trying to get a sense of how you're seeing the priorities of people that are putting the dollars in the ground on this new technology and what their priorities are and their time frames are for that investment. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. The people who are investing in Nvidia infrastructure are getting returns on it right away. It's the best ROI computing infrastructure investment you can make today. And so one way to think through it, probably the easiest way to think through it is just go back to first principles. You have $1 trillion worth of general purpose computing infrastructure, and the question is, do you want to build more of that or not? And for every $1 billion worth of general purpose CPU-based infrastructure that you stand up, you probably rent it for less than $1 billion. And so, because it's commoditized, there's already $1 trillion on the ground. What's the point of getting more? And so the people who are clamoring to get this infrastructure, when they build out Hopper-based infrastructure and soon Blackwell-based infrastructure, they start saving money. That's tremendous return on investment. And the reason why they start saving money is because data processing saves money. Data processing is probably just a giant part of it already. And so recommender systems save money, so on and so forth. Okay? And so you start saving money. The second thing is everything you stand up are going to get rented because so many companies are being founded to create generative AI. And so your capacity gets rented right away. And the return on investment of that is really good. And then the third reason is your own business. You want to either create the next frontier yourself or your own internet services benefit from a next generation ad system or a next generation recommender system or a next generation search system. So for your own services, for your own stores, for your own user generated content, social media platforms, for your own services. Generative AI is also a fast ROI. And so there's a lot of ways you could think through it, but at the core, it's because it is the best computing infrastructure you could put in the ground today. The world of general purpose computing is shifting to accelerated computing. The world of human engineered software is moving to generative AI software. If you were to build infrastructure to modernize your cloud and your data centers, build it with accelerated computing and Nvidia. That's the best way to do it.
And your next question comes from the line of Timothy Arcuri with UBS. Your line is open.
Thanks a lot. I had a question on the shape of the revenue growth, both near and longer term. I know, Colette, you did increase OPEX for the year, and if I look at the increase in your purchase commitments and your supply obligations, that's also quite bullish. On the other hand, there's some school of thought that not that many customers really seem ready for liquid cooling, and I do recognize that some of these racks can be air cooled. But Jensen, is that something to consider, sort of on the shape of how Blackwell is going to ramp? And then I guess when you look beyond next year, which is obviously going to be a great year, and you look into 26, do you worry about any other gating factors like, say, the power supply chain, or at some point models start to get smaller? I'm just wondering if you can speak to that. Thanks.
I'm going to work backwards. I really appreciate the question, Tim. So remember, the world is moving from general purpose computing to accelerated computing. And the world builds about $1 trillion worth of data centers. $1 trillion worth of data centers in a few years will be all accelerated computing. In the past, no GPUs are in data centers, just CPUs. In the future, every single data center will have GPUs. And the reason for that is very clear, because we need to accelerate workloads so that we can continue to be sustainable, continue to drive down the cost of computing, so that when we do more computing, we don't experience computing inflation. Second, we need GPUs for a new computing model called generative AI that we can all acknowledge is going to be quite transformative to the future of computing. And so I think working backwards, the way to think about that is the next $1 trillion of the world's infrastructure will clearly be different than the last trillion, and it'll be vastly accelerated. With respect to the shape of our ramp, we offer multiple configurations of Blackwell. Blackwell comes in either a Blackwell Classic, if you will, that uses the HGX form factor that we pioneered with Volta, and I think it was Volta. And so we've been shipping the HGX form factor for some time. It is air cooled. The Grace Blackwell is liquid cooled. However, the number of data centers that want to go liquid cooled is quite significant. And the reason for that is because we can, in a liquid cooled data center, in any data center, power limited data center, whatever size data center you choose, you could install and deploy anywhere from 3 to 5 times the AI throughput compared to the past. And so liquid cooling is cheaper. Liquid cooling, our TCO is better, and liquid cooling allows you to have the benefit of this capability we call NVLink, which allows us to expand it to 72 Grace Blackwell packages, which has essentially 144 GPUs. And so imagine 144 GPUs connected in NVLink, and that we're increasingly showing you the benefits of that. And the next click is obviously very low latency, very high throughput, large language model inference. And the large NVLink domain is going to be a game changer for that. And so I think people are very comfortable deploying both. And so almost every CSP we're working with are deploying some of both. And so I'm pretty confident that we'll ramp it up just fine. Your second question out of the third is looking forward. Yeah, next year is going to be a great year. We expect to grow our data center business quite significantly next year. Blackwell is going to be a complete game changer for the industry, and Blackwell is going to carry into the following year. And as I mentioned earlier, working backwards from first principles, remember that computing is going through two platform transitions at the same time, and that's just really, really important to keep your head on, your mind focused on, which is general purpose computing is shifting to accelerated computing, and human engineered software is going to transition to generative AI or artificial intelligence learned software. Okay.
And your next question comes from the line of Stacy Raskin with Bernstein Research. Your line is open.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my questions. I have two short questions for Colette. The first, several $1 billion of Blackwell revenue in Q4. Is that additive? You said you expected Hopper demand to strengthen in the second half. Does that mean Hopper strengthens Q3 to Q4 as well, on top of Blackwell adding several $1 billion? And the second question on gross margins, if I have mid-70s for the year, depending where I want to draw that, if I have 75 for the year, I'd be something like 71 to 72 for Q4, somewhere in that range. Is that the kind of exit rate for gross margins that you're expecting? And how should we think about the drivers of gross margin evolution into next year as Blackwell ramps? And I mean, hopefully, I guess the yields and the inventory reserves and everything come up.
Yes, so Stacey, let's first take your question that you had about Hopper and Blackwell. So we believe our Hopper will continue to grow into the second half. We have many new products for Hopper, our existing products for Hopper, that we believe will start continuing to ramp in the next quarters, including our Q3 and those new products moving to Q4. So let's say Hopper, therefore, versus H1 is a growth opportunity for that. Additionally, we have the Blackwell on top of that, and the Blackwell starting of ramping in Q4. So hope that helps you on those two pieces. Your second piece is in terms of on our gross margin. We provided gross margin for our Q3. We provided our gross margin on a non-GAAP at about 75. We'll work with all the different transitions that we're going through, but we do believe we can do that 75 in Q3. We provided that we're still on track for the full year, also in the mid-70s or approximately the 75. So we're going to see some slight difference possibly in Q4, again, with our transitions and the different cost structures that we have on our new product introductions. However, I'm not in the same number that you are there. We don't have exactly guidance, but I do believe you're lower than where we are.
And your next question comes from the line of Ben Reitzes with Melius. Your line is open.
Yeah, hey, thanks a lot for the question, Jensen and Colette. I wanted to ask about the geographies. There was the 10Q that came out, and the United States was down sequentially, while several Asian geographies were up a lot sequentially. Just wondering what the dynamics are there. And obviously China did very well. You mentioned it in your remarks. What are the puts and takes? And then I just wanted to clarify from Stacy's question if that means the sequential overall revenue growth rates for the company accelerate in the fourth quarter, given all those favorable revenue dynamics. Thanks.
Let me talk about a bit in terms of our disclosure in terms of the 10Q. A required disclosure and a choice of geographies. Very challenging sometimes to create that right disclosure, as we have to come up with one key piece. Pieces in terms of in terms of who we sell to and or specifically who we invoice to. And so what you're seeing in terms of there is who we invoice. That's not necessarily where the product will eventually be and where it may even travel to the end customer. These are just moving to our OEMs, our ODMs, and our system integrators for the most part across our product portfolio. So what you're seeing there is sometimes just a swift shift in terms of who they are using to complete their full configuration before those things are going into the data center, going into notebooks and those pieces of it. And that shift happens from time to time. But yes, our China number there, our invoicing to China, keep in mind that is incorporating both gaming, also data center, also automotive in those numbers that we have. Going back to your statement regarding gross margin, and also what we're seeing in terms of what we're looking at for Hopper and Blackwell in terms of revenue. Hopper will continue to grow in the second half. Will continue to grow from what we are currently seeing. Determining that exact mix in each Q3 and Q4 we don't have here. We are not here to guide yet in terms of Q4. But we do see right now the demand expectations. We do see the visibility that will be a growth opportunity in Q4. On top of that, we will have our Blackwell architecture.
And your next question comes from the line of CJ Muse with Cantor Fitzgerald. Your line is open.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the question. You've embarked on a remarkable annual product cadence with challenges only likely becoming more and more given rising complexity and a reticle limit advanced package world. So curious, if you take a step back, how does this backdrop alter your thinking around potentially greater vertical integration, supply chain partnerships, and then thinking through consequential impact to your margin profile? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Let's see. I think the answer to your first question is that the reason why our velocity is so high is simultaneously because the complexity of the model is growing, and we want to continue to drive its cost down. It's growing, so we want to continue to increase its scale. And we believe that by continuing to scale the AI models, that will reach a level of extraordinary usefulness, and that it would open up, realize the next industrial revolution. We believe it, and so we're going to drive ourselves really hard to continue to go up that scale. We have the ability, fairly uniquely, to integrate, to design an AI factory because we have all the parts. It's not possible to come up with a new AI factory every year unless you have all the parts. And so we have, next year, we're going to ship a lot more CPUs than we've ever had in the history of our company. More GPUs, of course, but also NVLink switches, CX DPUs, ConnectX CPU for East and West, Bluefield DPUs for North and South, and data and storage processing, to InfiniBand for supercomputing centers, to Ethernet, which is a brand new product for us, which is well on its way to becoming a multi-billion-dollar business to bring AI to Ethernet. And so the fact that we could build, we have access to all of this. We have one architectural stack, as you know. It allows us to introduce new capabilities to the market, as we complete it. Otherwise, what happens is you ship these parts, you go find customers to sell it to, and then somebody's got to build up an AI factory. And the AI factory's got a mountain of software. And so it's not about who integrates it. We love the fact that our supply chain is disintegrated in the sense that we could service, Quanta, Foxconn, HP, Dell, Lenovo, Supermicro. We used to be able to service ZT. They were recently purchased, and so on and so forth. And so the number of ecosystem partners that we have, Gigabyte, ASUS, the number of ecosystem partners that we have, that allows them to take our architecture, which all works, but integrated in a bespoke way into all of the world's cloud service providers, enterprise data centers. The scale and reach necessary from our ODMs and our integrator supply chain is vast and gigantic because the world is huge. And so that part we don't want to do, and we're not good at doing. And but we know how to design the AI infrastructure, provide it the way that customers will like it, and lets the ecosystem integrate it. Well, yeah. So, anyways, that's the reason why.
And your final question comes from the line of Aaron Rakers with Wells Fargo. Your line is open.
Yes, thanks for taking the question. I wanted to go back into the Blackwell product cycle. One of the questions that we tend to get asked is how you see the rack scale system mix dynamic as you think about leveraging NVLink, you think about GB, NVL72, and how that go-to-market, dynamic looks, as far as the Blackwell product cycle. I guess, put succinctly, how do you see that mix of rack scale systems as we start to think about the Blackwell cycle playing out?
Yeah, Aaron, thanks. The Blackwell rack system, it's designed and architected as a rack, but it's sold in disaggregated system components. We don't sell the whole rack. And the reason for that is because everybody's rack's a little different, surprisingly. Some of them are OCP standards, some of them are not, some of them are enterprise. And the power limits for everybody could be a little different. Choice of CDUs, the choice of power bus bars, the configuration and integration into people's data centers, all different. And so the way we designed it, we architected the whole rack. The software is going to work perfectly across the whole rack. And then we provide the system components. Like, for example, the CPU and GPU compute board is then integrated into an MGX. It's a modular system architecture. MGX is completely ingenious. And we have MGX ODMs and integrators and OEMs all over the planet. And so just about, any configuration you would like, where you would like that 3,000-pound rack to be delivered, it's got to be close to, it has to be integrated and assembled close to the data center because it's fairly heavy. And so everything from the supply chain, from the moment that we ship the GPU, CPUs, the switches, the NICs, from that point forward, the integration is done quite close to the location of the CSPs and the locations of the data centers. And so you can imagine how many data centers in the world there are and how many logistics hubs we've scaled out to with our ODM partners. And so I think that because we show it as one rack and because it's always rendered that way and shown that way, we might have left the impression that we're doing the integration. Our customers hate that we do integration. The supply chain hates us doing integration. They want to do the integration. That's their value added. There's a final design in, if you will. It's not quite as simple as shimmy into a data center, but that design fit in is really complicated. And so the design fit in, the installation, the bring up, the repair and replace, that entire cycle is done all over the world. And we have a sprawling network of ODM and OEM partners that does this incredibly well. So integration is not the reason why we're doing racks. It's the anti-reason of doing it. The way we don't want to be an integrator, we want to be a technology provider.
And I will now turn the call back over to Jensen Huang for closing remarks.
Thank you. Let me make a couple of comments that I made earlier again. The data center worldwide are in full steam to modernize the entire computing stack with accelerated computing and generative AI. Hopper demand remains strong and the anticipation for Blackwell is incredible. Let me highlight the top 5 things. The top 5 things of our company. Accelerated computing has reached a tipping point. CPU scaling slows. Developers must accelerate everything possible. Accelerated computing starts with CUDA-X libraries. New libraries open new markets for Nvidia. We've released many new libraries, including CUDA-accelerated Polars, Pandas, and Spark, the leading data science and data processing libraries, cuVS for vector databases. This is incredibly hot right now. Ariel and Shiona for 5G wireless base station, a whole world of data centers that we can go into now. Parabricks for gene sequencing, and AlphaFold 2 for protein structure prediction is now CUDA accelerated. We are at the beginning of our journey to modernize $1 trillion worth of data centers from general purpose computing to accelerated computing. That's number one. Number two, Blackwell is a step function leap over Hopper. Blackwell is an AI infrastructure platform, not just a GPU. Also happens to be the name of our GPU, but it's an AI infrastructure platform. As we reveal more of Blackwell and sample systems to our partners and customers, the extent of Blackwell's leap becomes clear. The Blackwell vision took nearly 5 years and 7 one-of-a-kind chips to realize. The Grace CPU, the Blackwell dual GPU in a CoWoS package, ConnectX DPU for east-west traffic, Bluefield DPU for north-south and storage traffic, NVLink switch for all-to-all GPU communications, and Quantum and Spectrum X for both InfiniBand and Ethernet can support the massive burst traffic of AI. Blackwell AI factories are building-sized computers. Nvidia designed and optimized the Blackwell platform full stack, end-to-end, from chips, systems, networking, even structured cables, power and cooling, and mountains of software to make it fast for customers to build AI factories. These are very capital-intensive infrastructures. Customers want to deploy it as soon as they get their hands on the equipment and deliver the best performance and TCO. Blackwell provides 3 to 5 times more AI throughput in a power-limited data center than Hopper. The third is NVLink. This is a very big deal. With its all-to-all GPU switch is game-changing. The Blackwell system lets us connect 144 GPUs in 72 GB200 packages into one NVLink domain, with an aggregate NVLink bandwidth of 259 terabytes per second in one rack. Just put that in perspective, that's about 10 times higher than Hopper. 259 terabytes per second kind of makes sense because you need to boost the training of multi-trillion parameter models on trillions of tokens. And so that natural amount of data needs to be moved around from GPU to GPU. For inference, NVLink is vital for low latency, high throughput, large language model token generation. We now have 3 networking platforms: NVLink for GPU scale up, Quantum InfiniBand for supercomputing and dedicated AI factories, and Spectrum X for AI on Ethernet. NVIDIA's networking footprint is much bigger than before. Generative AI momentum is accelerating. Generative AI frontier model makers are racing to scale to the next AI plateau to increase model safety and IQ. We're also scaling to understand more modalities, from text, images, and video to 3D, physics, chemistry, and biology. Chatbots, coding AIs, and image generators are growing fast, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. Internet services are deploying generative AI for large-scale recommenders, ad targeting, and search systems. AI startups are consuming tens of billions of dollars yearly of CSP's cloud capacity, and countries are recognizing the importance of AI and investing in sovereign AI infrastructure. And NVIDIA AI and NVIDIA Omniverse is opening up the next era of AI, general robotics. And now the enterprise AI wave has started, and we're poised to help companies transform their businesses. The NVIDIA AI Enterprise Platform consists of NeMo, NIMs, NIM Agent Blueprints, and AI Foundry that our ecosystem partners, the world-leading IT companies, use to help companies customize AI models and build bespoke AI applications. Enterprises can then deploy on NVIDIA AI Enterprise Runtime. And at $4,500 per GPU per year, NVIDIA AI Enterprise is an exceptional value for deploying AI anywhere. And for NVIDIA's software TAM can be significant as the CUDA-compatible GPU installed base grows from millions to tens of millions. And as Colette mentioned, NVIDIA software will exit the year at a $2 billion run rate. Thank you all for joining us today.
And ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's call, and we thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the call, and that also concludes the live stream because I am absolutely exhausted. Thank you so much for joining. Nvidia down a little bit over 6%, recovering off of that 115 base that we marked out during the call. Overall, very strong numbers, record revenues, record profits, strong growth year over year. Several comments on Blackwell, on accelerated GPUs, on the overall addressable market, well over $1 trillion. So all of that, I promise I will digest, I will synthesize all of that, and we'll break that down in our video on Nvidia stock that's going to be coming out later, but down a little bit over 6%. We'll see what happens tomorrow and on Friday. My put strikes are 108 and 105. I'll update everybody on Discord tomorrow. If you want to get access, link's going to be down below. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that if you haven't already. Let's get up to over 83,000 fairly soon here. And also do check out the links below if you want to access our Discord and all of our community channels as well. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Hope you all have a fantastic day. And again, hope it was fun. We had a lot of fun together over the last 2 hours. So once again, thank you so much for joining. And again, link's going to be down below if you want to check out all the other Discord channels and everything else. So thank you.